Shiloh, when I was young, I used to call your name when no one else would come. Shiloh, you always came and you'd stay. Remember Neil Diamond? Nobody? Nobody wanted to sing along? Neil Diamond sing along? Come on. It all happened at Shiloh. The Samuel thing. The Eli thing. It happened at Shiloh. So there you go. You always remember the Samuel story if you remember your Neil Diamond. Or vice versa. I've been singing it all morning. I just had to get it out. So that's my earworm gift to you today. Shiloh, you. Luckily I don't know any more words to that song. But it's a gooder. Scripture starts off, the word of the Lord was rare in those days. You know what's odd about that? The word of the Lord was rare in those days? They were right at Shiloh by the Ark of the Covenant, which is the word of the Lord in an ark, in a beautiful gold box. Right? The tablets from Moses, like the word of the Lord. Remember the fire and Charlton Heston, in Hebrew, right? Okay. Those were in a box called the Ark of the Covenant, if you remember your Indiana Jones movies. And that's like right where Samuel was sleeping. He was sleeping right there by the lamp that was lit, that continuously was lit to be, so it was always light by the Ark of the Covenant. So it's like the word of the Lord was rare in those days, but they slept right by the word of the Lord. It's kind of odd. What that just makes me remember, though, is that, you could have the word of the Lord written down in your mind, or, canonized. Doesn't matter. It still has to be spoken, listened for, heard, shared, praised, sung. The word of the Lord can't be stagnant in a box alone. It needs to be moving and living and breathing. And so with that, we continue to enter into this story of the little boy, Samuel, who's about that high. He's like, oh no, don't get me up again. That high. The other thing that strikes me at the beginning of the story every single time is that Eli's eyes have become dim. I think it's the only time in the whole of the scripture that I know of them ever saying a person's eyes have become dim. There's stories in the gospel about blindness, of course. But Eli's the only person I remember had eyes that had become dim. His eyes had dimmed. So the word of the Lord was rare in those days, which in the minds of the storyteller, I think, meant that, there hadn't been a great prophet in a long time who had spoken on behalf of God to the people. They hadn't heard someone speak, and that sets it up for Samuel about to speak for God. So you see that envelope, that the action is set up by the word of the Lord was rare in those days. Oh, a little boy spoke the words of the Lord by the end of the story, right? So that's the movement. And then Eli's eyes had become dim. It kind of makes an excuse for some of Eli's lack of action. But his own character in the story, we often concentrate on Samuel as a little boy, and all of us are worthy of a call, but I'm thinking about Eli this week. Eli's eyes were dim, and he kind of made a number of mistakes in the first 3 chapters of 1 Samuel. And then he always ends up doing the right thing. Okay, so in chapter 1, Hannah, who is Samuel's mother, unbeknownst to her, she hasn't had him yet, she's barren, and she is praying outside of the temple, because women couldn't go in the temple, so she's on the corner of the temple at night, lest she be seen. And she's praying, and Eli thinks she's drunk. Don't get me going on the sexism of that. But the woman is praying, Hannah, for a child to be given to her, and she says, God, I will give this child to the temple. Just let me have a child. And Eli comes along and says, woman, get out of here. Why are you drinking? Blah, blah, blah. Right? So he messes up because his eyes are dim. His eyes are dim. Right? And but then, he figures it all out, and he takes the child, and he does the right thing. And he raises up Samuel as one of his own into the priestly caste, blah, blah, blah. That's what it says in the Hebrew, blah, and blah, blah, blah. Then in chapter 2, Eli's sons, who are the actual priestly caste, like by blood, it says they're scoundrels. Eli's sons became scoundrels. And they started taking, do you know what they would do? People would make like pots of stuff to sacrifice. And they would take a 3-pronged fork, not a 2-pronged fork, a 3-pronged fork, and dig in. And whatever came out on the 3-pronged fork, they kept for themselves. Not for God, for themselves. Right? So that just reminds me of that story of the old preacher after church would throw the offering plate in the air. Right? And they'd say, well, what's that all about? He said, well, whatever gets into the lands back in the plate belongs to the church. Whatever lands on the ground is mine. Scoundrels, I tell you, these sons. Scoundrels. They cheated. Oh, and they were doing things with the ladies outside in the front of the temple too. I'm just going to not say too much more because little Samuel's here, but you know what I mean. It was bad stuff. These scoundrels. And Eli didn't do anything about it. There's like a pause in chapter 2 where he talks about Hannah and Samuel for a while, and then he gets down to finally, challenging his sons on this. And then chapter 3. 3 times Samuel comes to him. Oh, did you call me? Somebody's been calling me. Middle of the night. And Eli, because his eyes are dim, right? His heart is dim. He can't see. He's losing his touch. Maybe he's had a broken relationship with God. Maybe he's not praying. I don't know what. But he didn't get it 3 times. And then finally, because he does the right thing, finally. We should just call him Eli finally. Because Eli finally gets the right thing. He figured out what Hannah was all about. Sure enough, a boy was born. Figured out his sons were wrong. Finally got to it. Finally realizes God is speaking to Samuel. And does the right thing. He says, go. And I love Eli's strength at the end. He's very much redeemed because Samuel does not have good news for Eli. God has tingled the ears of the people by saying, Eli, your house will never be priests again, and there's no sacrifices, no offerings, no prayers, nothing you can do that will bring it back. That's what Samuel has to say to Eli on behalf of God, so the word of the Lord hasn't been heard in a long time, and this is what Eli has to swallow. And Eli just stands and says, well, God is God. Let God do whatever God's going to do. Very wise. So Eli falls back again into faithfulness again. Becomes the guy who does the right thing. On your behalf, because of you folks, because of the ministry that you allow me to live out here with you, I am, I'm just so involved in reconciliation work in this city. And so this week, that work took me to the Wichita conference. There it is. Wichita. It's not Wichita. There was a couple years people were saying Wichita, and one of the elders got up and said, it's not Wichita. We cheat to win. That's not what it is. It's Wichita. The elder said, not we cheat to win. Because it was a funny thing. So Wichita, it means in Crete, helping together, or they help each other. And it's a huge Aboriginal engagement conference is what they call it, but it seems so much more. Big reconciliation conference. 600 people at TCU Place this week. Sponsored by the United Way and Potash Corp and some Canada 150 money and Saskatoon Community Foundation and the Health Region and the city. And they just put on this big 2-day conference with great speakers and great panels. And they asked me the last 2 years to develop and host a faith panel, what the faith communities can do in response to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. So I did that, and then spontaneously one day they asked me the next day if I could moderate and facilitate another conversation / panel. It was a wonderful, and this is the 3rd year I've gone to Wichita, and I got to say the spirit was deeper, more authentic, more patient, and more honest, and just fun. We laughed a lot. Keynote speakers were Sheila Rogers, over here from CBC, you know, Sheila. She did Morningside, and she does the next chapter on CBC. Got a voice like velvet. It's beautiful, like butter. And that she was the opening keynote speaker. Just had us in tears and laughing all at the same time. She's such a wonderful storyteller about her own journey. She's an honorary witness for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and she's Chancellor of the University of Victoria. And then Ashley Collingbull, who won Mrs. Universe a couple years ago. She was all over Twitter, all over the news feeds after she won Mrs. Universe as the first Indigenous person from the Enoch Cree Nation outside of Edmonton. And you can't imagine. I've heard some really nasty stuff in my lifetime. She told stories of what some newspapers in Toronto said about her when she was just entering the contest, about what her talents might be and stuff. Such racist things. It actually turned my stomach when I heard it. I'm not going to repeat it today. This woman has climbed up from sexual abuse as a child all the way up to being a championship Métis jigger, science degree, communications degree, Mrs. Universe, Miss Universe Canada, Mrs. Universe World, Mrs. Universe. Like, stunning, wondrous, strong speaker. And what inspiration to young women. So hey, those keynote speakers on either end and all these great speakers and stuff in the middle, the mayor of Saskatoon, the mayor of Regina, the mayor of Warman, and the mayor of Elbow had a panel, and they were fantastic, working for reconciliation. It was an honor to be there. It was an honor to see the hearts of Saskatoon and area start to turn. It was an honor to hear mayors. And what I loved about the four mayors is they're all in different places on their journey toward reconciliation. They fumbled in their language. There were some not politically correct things that were said by some of the mayors. But their authenticity was on display. Their honesty was on display. And I love that we can have the patience to listen to four people at four different places on the journey. You know, the mayor from Warman, Cheryl Spence, just said, I'm so brand new to this, it's terrifying to be up here. You know? But she stuck it out with us, and we with her. 500, 600 people. Imagine how nerve-wracking that would be. And Charlie, our own mayor, I call him Charlie because we have coffee every day. Charlie, spoke and had tears in his eyes a few times because he speaks so authentically to the journey that's afoot about reconciliation. And on Friday night, I saw a heartbreaking, beautiful play called Dominion. And it's on for another week at the Gordon Tatusis Nagawin Theatre down at 20th. I really, really encourage you to go. 8 o'clock each night this week. Go see Dominion. A wondrous play by Andrea Letting, a local artist. And it's about, it's about Dominion. It's about Canada and our history. And there is a English husband named Jack and a French wife named Marie. And they live in a house. But the house belonged to Indigenous peoples first, and they live in the bathroom. They're locked. They've been locked in the bathroom, the guest bathroom of the own house, because they invited the English and the French in because they were hungry. And all of a sudden, they ended up living in the toilet area of their own house. You can see the extended metaphor. It is clever, funny, witty, heartbreaking, tear-jerking, and beautiful. I really encourage you to go. So it's been a big week for me. Big heart work. Sheila Rogers, my new buddy, forget Charlie Clark, Sheila Rogers and I, we jumped in the car. We had to borrow a truck. I didn't have my car with me, and we came up here to Mayfair United Church. Yeah, Sheila Rogers was at Mayfair. And she and I, we'd never known each other before. We went on a little adventure, and we came to see a painting that's hanging in our lounge right now, just for the last few days. A beautiful reconciliation, a beautiful residential schools painting by our friend Kevin Pies, who did our mural. And I encourage you after church to take a quiet moment and go in and look at the 7-foot by 7-foot pouring out of Kevin's heart after his 6 years of residential schools. And get close and look at all the things that he put about his experience in the big painting, and then step back and look at it and get close and step back. I want Canadians to see this painting before it disappears to someone's collection. So I hung it back up this morning with Molly's help. I thought, Mayfair should see this. So take a walk through, pause, and look at that painting. And Sheila Rogers wanted to see it, so we came up here, had a good fun. and laughed a lot, talked a lot, cried a bit, and now she's my buddy. I got thinking this week actually it was right when I was watching the play Dominion that this message came to me, this connection. There is a dream in Canada. I really, really feel it. You know, I organized the Rock Your Roots Walk the last 2 years. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. The mayor of Warman said, Rock Your Roots Walk was what helped her realize something new was happening in Saskatoon and in Saskatchewan. There is a dream that is awakening in the hearts of regular people in this city. And it's a dream for reconciliation. The problem with dreams are, though, our heads get in the way. The stuff we were taught gets in the way. We hear a grandmother say, you can't live like that. We hear a dad and his racist joke, and we think, nah, it's not going to work. I can't dream that dream anymore. Stuff gets in the way of our dreams, and our eyes are dimmed. Stuff gets in the way of God's voice, and our eyes are dimmed. And the word of the Lord isn't heard for a long time. Canada has come through years, decades, centuries of dimness in our sight. But I hear newness coming. Some friends of mine in the panel that I led this week, the one I facilitated, after they spoke, I said, thank you. It is nerve-wracking to get up and speak on these topics. It is so nerve-wracking, even for the best, most professional speaker. And when I was thanking them, I said, you are speaking on behalf of all of our hearts, which don't know how to speak yet about these things. So a courageous few open their mouths, so our hearts and our dreams can be served, like Samuel opening his mouth, so that God's word could be followed. We need to wrestle the right thing out of our hearts and up into the world. And it is a wrestling match. I'm going to give you an example. 2012, when the National Truth and Reconciliation Commission event was here in Saskatoon, the Survivors Committee of Eugene Arcand was the Saskatchewan rep. He's been here in this pulpit before. Eugene and the Survivors Committee asked that the clergy who attended from bishops on down not wear their collars to the TRC event. It ruffled some feathers, needless to say. Some of those guys, you really just pull that collar off. They sleep in them, I think, sometimes. Because at the event that had happened in Quebec, I believe, some people in clergy garbs, I believe they were nuns, showed up, and it really triggered some of the survivors. Because, if you've been beaten, hit by these people, and worse, it can really re-traumatize you. So we wrestled as a clergy group. We wrestled. The church has wrestled with this. Should we respect this? Shouldn't we respect this? Should we respect this? And in the end, we decided we would ask, and we sent letters out to all of the church leaders and said, could you please tell all of the clergy under you, hundreds of people, that at this event, we ask that they not wear their liturgical garb, their gowns or their collars, so that we can respect what the survivors have asked us. Why do we do that? You might ask. Why? Because by removing an ancient symbol of our office, we actually allowed ourselves to show and live out what Jesus taught us. It seems like a flip. Oh, wear our collars. Everybody know we're Jesus people, right? Oh, take off our collars. We actually got to live the way God has been calling us to live. We got to dream like God wants us to dream. It's hard. Let me tell you, it was wrestling. It was tough. It was a tough thing to ask bishops to not wear their collar. But I got to say, Don Bolin, who was bishop at the time, really led that way. Because our hearts cared more about the love that was needed than the symbols that we wore, or people knowing exactly who we were. How do we move to a place where the dimness of our hearts, the dimness of our spiritual eyes are shed, and the Word and the dream are allowed to awaken in us? You can start by looking at that painting and opening your hearts to what it has to say, but I invite you all, and I've rarely ever done this. I'm off doing this stuff, I forget that. Bring you along. I started a reconciliation bulletin board. Not as pretty as Deb's bulletin boards, but it's something. Beautiful reconciliation flag, and I'm putting up posters of all the stuff you can join in. You could learn beads, you could learn dancing, you could go to this event, this event. There's tons of stuff going on for reconciliation in Saskatoon, and I've put the posters up so you can choose something you'd like to go to. But I will start mentioning things that are happening, or putting them on our Facebook page. Phone me up, send me an email. We can meet there, we can go together. Grab some friends. Because showing up is the first step. Listening is the second step. Seems easy, seems hard. But there is a dream inside of us that is awakening. And in the middle of the night, may we listen.